The alien girl was injured and abandoned until the human man found her. The starlight canopy still flickered like a cracked screen overhead when Kael stumbled over the ridge, muttering to himself about broken survey drones and the excellent life choices that had brought him to a wasteland famous for spontaneous explosions. His boots sank into soot-soft ground, still warm from whatever cosmic tantrum had happened here hours earlier. He tapped his wrist scanner, which responded with its usual enthusiasm, meaning none. It buzzed twice, displayed a single confused question mark, then died dramatically, as if the situation offended it personally. He sighed, ready to kick the thing, when something shifted in the rubble below. Not a creature, not debris lost in the wind. Something softer, trembling, emitting the faintest bioluminescent pulse. He descended the slope, slipping on glass stone, and very nearly introducing his face to the dirt. When he reached the source of the glow, he froze. She lay curled among the shards, breath thin, her skin shimmering faintly under the fractured sky, and her ears long, tapered, elegant, twitched with each strained inhale. For a moment Kael's mind produced nothing coherent except a mental scream and an extremely unhelpful joke about how he had definitely not packed a first-aid kit for extraterrestrial royalty. Her eyes fluttered open, glowing with that strange inner light that made him forget how to breathe. She watched him with a mix of fear and hope, as if deciding whether he was a rescuer or the next disaster on her increasingly terrible day. He raised his hand slowly. "Hi, I'm Kael. I come in peace, I swear. Or at least, I come in mild panic." Her lips moved, forming shapes he didn't understand, then collapsing into a weak sigh. She tried to sit up, failed, and flinched in pain. A sharp sound escaped her, like a hum warped by static. "Nope, don't do that," Kael said, kneeling beside her. "I'd pick you up sooner, but I'm trying not to step on anything that looks like interstellar shrapnel. Last thing I need is a splinter from a warp core fragment. Pretty sure my insurance doesn't cover that." A faint glow flickered in her eyes, confusion mingling with something softer, recognition, maybe, or desperate trust. Her fingers twitched toward him. He didn't hesitate. He slid his arms beneath her, expecting her to weigh nothing or everything, but she was warm and light and trembling. As he lifted her, a ripple of energy brushed across his skin, humming like distant star engines. "Okay," he murmured, adjusting her gently. "You're either bonding with me, or your species naturally gives accidental electric hugs. Either way, I'll take it." Her head rested against his shoulder, ears grazing his collarbone. They quivered, painfully sensitive. He tried not to stare at them too much, out of politeness and the sudden realization that they might be extremely rude to touch unless invited. Not that he planned to touch them. Probably. He carried her up the ridge, trying to avoid stumbling. At one point he nearly tripped over a glowing crater, muttering, "Of course. Giant hole in the ground. Why would the universe warn me about that?" She made a soft sound, almost a laugh, breathy and pained but unmistakably amused. It startled him so much he nearly dropped her. "Hey, don't laugh. I'm doing my best here," he whispered. "My heroic rescue skills are a work in progress." The sky above crackled with residual ion trails, faint arcs of blue and violet weaving through clouds like the bruises of a broken dimension. Whatever ship she'd come from hadn't crashed gently. It looked like it had been pulled apart, scattered by forces he didn't recognize, leaving behind splintered fragments of metal that glowed with energy they probably shouldn't. He tried not to imagine what, or who, had done it. By the time he reached his rover, her breathing had turned shallow. Panic tightened his chest. He triggered the vehicle's doors, which slid open after thinking about it far longer than any door should. He eased her inside, arranging her across the padded seat. She watched him with those luminous eyes, blinking slowly, as if fighting to stay in a world that had already tried to push her out. "It's okay," he murmured. "I've got you. I mean, granted, I've also got a questionable track record with keeping houseplants alive, but you're in better hands than that implies." Her hand lifted, brushing weakly against his shirt. He caught it gently, surprised by the warmth of her skin. A faint whisper escaped her, cracked and breathless. "Don't leave." He felt the words more than he heard them, vibrating faintly through the air as though carried by unseen energy. Something tightened in his chest, a certainty sharper than fear. "I'm not going anywhere," he said, voice lower, steadier than he expected. "Not a chance." Her fingers curled against his palm. A faint glow spread from her touch, weaving up his arm like stardust tracing veins. It didn't hurt. It felt like a promise he didn't yet understand. He climbed into the driver's seat, engaging the rover's thrusters. The engine sputtered, naturally, then roared to life with enough force to rattle his teeth. As they lifted over the ridge, the shattered starlight behind them pulsed once, like a warning. Kael glanced at her again, watching her fight to stay conscious. "You're safe with me," he whispered. "Whoever hurt you, they'll have to get through one very annoyed human with limited combat skills and a great sense of timing." Her lips twitched, barely a smile, but it was enough. They sped into the night, carrying a secret neither of them yet understood, bound by a single moment that had already changed everything. The moment Kael eased Lurei onto the cot inside his shelter, she stirred with a sharp breath, her ears flicking as though trying to catch sounds he couldn't hear. He hovered awkwardly, unsure whether to fetch water, medical supplies, or a friendly motivational speech. The shelter's interior did not help his confidence. It was a chaotic shrine to half-finished repairs, mismatched tech scraps, and one very judgmental potted fern that had somehow survived 5 moves and 2 small explosions. Lurei blinked up at the ceiling, her gaze drifting over the dangling cables that hummed like lazy metallic insects. "You live here," she whispered, voice raspy. Kael placed a hand over his heart. "I'll have you know this is premium lodging. 5 stars. Extremely exclusive. You're lucky there's even a vacancy." She studied him with a tired expression that suggested she was too injured to roll her eyes properly. He rummaged through a crate marked medical stuff probably, pulling out a small diagnostic sphere. Once activated, it floated up, whirled around her, and beeped in a language only it understood before projecting a holographic scan. He frowned at the data, tilting his head. "Okay, so according to this, you are both critically injured and somehow running at 83% cosmic energy saturation? Not sure if that's good. Is that good?" Lurei struggled to speak. "Energy unstable. Ship breached. Sabotage." "Right," he said, lowering the sphere. "We'll file that under complications we will absolutely panic about later. For now, you need rest." Her hand twitched toward him, and he gently pressed her back down. No heroic leaps. No dramatic monologues. Definitely no glowing. Just lie here and do whatever your species does to recover. Photosynthesis. Meditation. Long naps. She tried again to sit up. He cleared his throat sharply. "Nope. Bed. Now. Doctor's orders." "You are not a doctor," she murmured. He puffed out his chest. "Not with that attitude." Her ears flicked again, weak but unmistakably a sign of amusement. It warmed something inside him. He moved to a cluttered counter, preparing a nutrient mixture from ingredients he hoped were compatible with alien biology. He poured it into a small container, grimaced at its shimmering purple color, then brought it to her side. "Here, drink this. It's a fusion of electrolytes, vitamins, and some glowing moss I found outside. Completely safe. Mostly." She sniffed it, eyebrows rising. "This smells hostile." Kael held up a finger. "Listen, it won't win awards for fragrance, but it'll help. Probably." She took a small sip, blinking in surprise. "It tastes warm." He nodded proudly. "See, not hostile. Just misunderstood. Like me." Her gaze softened, glowing faintly. She finished the drink, then leaned back with a sigh. Her fingers grazed the blanket, feeling the texture as though it were unfamiliar. Her eyes drifted to the window, where the horizon shimmered with electromagnetic waves still unsettled by the crash. Kael settled onto a stool, letting out a breath. "So, you want to tell me what happened up there? Or should I guess? I'm good at guessing. I once determined my neighbor had taken my wrench just by noticing he was suddenly fixing things suspiciously fast." Lurei hesitated. "We traveled through folded space. A mission of peace and escape. But someone betrayed us. The hull ruptured. I was forced into an escape tunnel. I do not remember landing. Kael tapped his finger against his knee. Well, on the bright side, your crash landing didn't vaporize the countryside. That's always a plus. She didn't laugh. Her eyes dimmed slightly. He softened his voice. Hey, you survived. And you found someone incredibly talented to rescue you. Talented? She asked, with a skeptical tilt of her head. He grinned. Absolutely. My talent is improvising wildly under extreme pressure. And making soup. Mostly soup. For the first time, her lips curved into a small, real smile. You are strange. I know, he said. It's part of my charm. A soft chime echoed through the shelter. Kael stiffened, glancing toward a panel where a cracked screen projected a pulsing red icon. Oh, great. Incoming signal. Perfect timing. He tapped the panel, and distorted overlapping frequencies filled the room, buzzing like a swarm of angry robotic bees. Lurei sat upright too fast, wincing as her ears twitched violently. That is not natural interference, she whispered. They are searching. For you. Yes. Kael stared at the panel, then slowly reached out and shut it off. Cool. Love that. Very relaxing. Definitely won't have nightmares. She pressed a trembling hand to her brow. If they find me. They won't. He cut in, more firmly than he felt. Not while you're here. She blinked at him, touched by the certainty in his voice. A faint pulse of light rippled across her skin, then dimmed. He leaned back, crossing his arms. Now you rest. I'll monitor the perimeter. And by monitor, I mean stare out the window with deep suspicion and threaten anything that moves. Her ears gave a tired twitch. You are very loud for someone trying to be protective. Loudness is an essential human defense mechanism, he said, standing. Also doubles as communication. He adjusted the blanket around her one more time, then headed toward the door. Before he reached it, her voice stopped him. Kael, do not leave for long. He paused, turning slightly. I won't. I'm just a few steps away. You need anything, shout, or glow at me. Whichever works. She sank into the cot, finally letting exhaustion pull her under. As the door slid shut behind him, Kael muttered to himself. Great. Alien fugitives. Searching drones. And I still haven't fixed the generator. Perfect. Just another quiet evening. But even as he spoke, he couldn't shake the strange, warm certainty settling into his chest. The beginning of something he couldn't yet name. Kael had barely stepped outside when his perimeter drones began twitching like anxious beetles, their lights blinking patterns that clearly translated to please fix us or we will explode. He sighed, knelt beside the closest one, and opened its access panel, immediately getting a face full of sparking wires. Fantastic. Yes, this is exactly what I needed today. Surprise electrocution. The drone beeped apologetically. Don't try to charm me, he grumbled. You're a malfunctioning tin can with delusions of heroism. Inside the shelter, he could hear Lurei shifting weakly. Her energy signature pulsed faintly, brushing against the sensors like soft waves. Even weakened, she radiated something that made every piece of technology behave as though they'd suddenly developed feelings. He glanced at the door, reassuring himself she was safe, then returned to rewiring the drone. When he finished, it wobbled upright and emitted a proud chirp. Great. Now go pretend you're competent and scan for threats. The drone zipped off with the confidence of someone who absolutely should not have confidence. Kael stood, brushing dust off his hands, only to freeze when the wind carried a strange vibration through the air. A hum layered with harmonics so delicate it made his teeth ache. Not natural. Not weather. Something searching. He slipped back inside the shelter. Lurei sat up with difficulty, her luminous gaze sharp despite her exhaustion. They're closer. He forced a calm smile. Closer as in a safe distance far away, or closer as in we should panic quietly. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her ears lifted slightly, as if tuned to frequencies only she could sense. Kael dragged a crate over, plopping down beside her with exaggerated casualness. Everything's fine. Absolutely fine. This is just the universe testing our stress tolerance. You know. For science. Lurei narrowed her eyes, trying to assess whether he truly believed his own nonsense. Your world is very loud. You noticed, he said. Humans specialize in noise. Communication noise. Machine noise. Emotional noise. Ask any therapist. A faint tremor flickered across her fingers as she lifted her hand, and a spark of pale light zipped between her fingertips like playful lightning. Kael jolted. Okay, that's new. Are you okay? We're about to unleash some catastrophic cosmic blast. I feel like I should know these things in advance. She breathed slowly. The spark dimmed. My energy tries to stabilize. It reacts to danger. Great. A built-in alarm system. Very efficient. Mine is just panicking loudly. She tilted her head. Your panic is loud enough to alert an entire city. Kael opened his mouth, then shut it. Fair. Her expression softened. You help me. Even though you fear what hunts me. Fear is just informed caution, he said. Very informed. Excessively informed. Before she could respond, the shelter lights flickered. A low rumble vibrated through the floor. Kael jumped up so fast he tripped over his own toolbox, which clattered dramatically. That wasn't me. I swear. This time it wasn't me. Lurei pressed her palms to the cot, steadying herself. They have deployed seeker drones. They scan energy patterns. They will detect mine. Kael ran to a nearby console, slapping buttons with the confidence of someone who understood absolutely nothing about what the buttons did. Okay, think, Kael, think. How do we stop them from detecting you? A blanket? Probably not. A very big blanket? Still no. Maybe if we lower my signature, she murmured. I can, but it will weaken me. You're already weakened, he protested. She didn't argue. Instead, she closed her eyes and concentrated. Her glow dimmed slowly, like a lantern losing fuel. The air grew colder, thinner, stirred by forces Kael couldn't see. He stepped forward instinctively. Lurei, don't overdo. Light flared briefly around her hands, then vanished entirely. Her breathing grew shallow. Kael cursed under his breath. Okay, you lowered your signature. That's good. Or terrible. Probably both. The rumble outside intensified. His perimeter drones screeched in digital terror. Kael glanced toward the door. Stay here. Don't move. Or glow. Or faint. Especially don't faint. I mean it. I will try, she whispered, though she already appeared halfway to collapsing. He dashed outside. Above, 3 seeker drones glided across the sky, sleek and silent, glowing with an icy violet light. They swept broad arcs over the terrain, releasing scanning pulses that rippled through the air like invisible waves. Kael grabbed a discarded metal sheet from a previous repair project and waved it dramatically overhead. Hey, over here. Nothing suspicious happening at all. Just a man exercising with garbage. The drones paused mid-scan. Oh no, he whispered. It worked. The closest drone descended rapidly, scanning him. Kael yelped as it pulsed energy over him. Look, I know I don't get out much, but scanning me is rude. The drone identified him as human, harmless, and disappointed. It rose again. Kael exhaled in relief, until another drone repositioned, angling slightly toward the shelter. Kael's stomach dropped. Nope, he shouted, sprinting toward it. No shelter. No interesting readings. Come scan me again. I'm very scan-worthy. I have many mysterious traits. Come check them out. He dove at the drone with impressive recklessness, smacking it with the metal sheet. Sparks burst everywhere. The drone spun in confusion, unsure whether to attack or file a complaint. He smacked it again. The drone decided on retreat. It zipped upward, signaling the others. Within seconds, all 3 streaked away into the sky. Kael lay on the ground panting, hair standing on end from static. I hate surveillance technology, he muttered. He stumbled back inside. Lurei looked up weakly. Her glow was almost non-existent. They gone. For now, Kael said, kneeling beside her. And may I just say, heroic distraction is harder than it looks. I deserve snacks. She blinked slowly. You risked yourself. Well, yes, he said. Because you matter. and because I'm very bad at letting people get hunted in my general vicinity. Her eyes softened. Kael, don't, he said quickly, waving a hand. If you get emotional, I'll get emotional, and then we'll both need hydration. She gave the faintest, exhausted laugh. He covered her hand with his. Rest. I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. A subtle warmth pulsed beneath her skin, weak but present, a quiet answer. Outside, the sky darkened with distant violet streaks. Kael ignored them. For the moment, all that mattered was keeping her breathing steady, keeping her safe, keeping his promise. Kael hoisted Lurei carefully into the rover, grumbling about the poor ergonomics of alien rescue and the surprising weight of glowing limbs. Seriously, he muttered. You're light, but my back disagrees violently with that assessment. She didn't respond, only allowed herself a faint twitch of her ears, a signal he interpreted as either acknowledgement or judgment. Either way, he winced. The rover's engines whined to life, producing a vibration that made his teeth chatter in mock protest. I call this sound adventure and surround sound, he said. Very dramatic, very ominous. 10 out of 10 for suspense, 0 out of 10 for comfort. Lurei glanced at him with a tired sort of amusement. Your humor is persistent. And highly necessary, he replied, shifting the rover over jagged terrain. Without it, I'd probably be sobbing quietly and considering whether fleeing into a black hole counts as a vacation. They moved through the fractured landscape that Kael had long ago decided was the universe's idea of a bad joke. Gravity fluctuated in unpredictable patches, causing the rover to skip over the ground like a stone on water. He gripped the controls with exaggerated seriousness. Yes, this is exactly what it feels like to dodge a cosmic catastrophe and remain stylishly alive. Lurei closed her eyes and extended her hand slightly. A faint ripple of energy emanated from her fingers, brushing over the rover's metal surfaces, stabilizing them just enough to prevent catastrophic tipping. Kael's jaw dropped. Okay, not subtle, but effective. I'll take it. You really should charge admission for that. They seek me, she murmured, voice soft, yet carrying the weight of warning. I was not merely a passenger. I was the target. Kael paused mid-turn on the rocky path. Wait, target, as in wanted alive or a dead target, or literally the universe wants to cancel your subscription target. The first, she said, and the faint pulse of her glow flickered with recollection. They want what my people possess. Knowledge, power, survival routes of the stars. Kael's mouth opened, then closed. Right, casual Thursday stuff. Just a little genocide-level corporate espionage. Got it. Totally normal. She ignored him, her focus on the distant violet flashes rippling over the horizon. They will not stop. Well, he said, tapping the console with a flourish. That's reassuring. Really comforting. But don't worry. I have a foolproof plan. You do. Absolutely. Step 1, evade them. Step 2, survive. Step 3, probably cry a little, but only quietly. Her ears twitched in mild incredulity. You are remarkable in your nonsense. Thank you, he said with a bow, nearly tipping the rover over a gravity-scarred ledge. I like to think of it as a special talent, only slightly illegal in some star systems. The landscape shifted ahead into floating cliffs, shards of metal suspended in invisible currents of energy. Kael maneuvered carefully, letting Lurei's faintly pulsing glow guide him through the safest path. Don't move. Or wiggle. Or really, don't do anything that might summon an interstellar pothole. I don't want to explain this to anyone. Her hand brushed his arm unconsciously. Energy sparkled softly along her fingertips, a subtle reminder that she was not defenseless. I can protect, but it will tire me quickly, she said. Good, Kael said, grinning despite the tension. Because I was planning to do all the heavy lifting. Heroically. With my fists. Or moral support. Probably moral support. The distant hum of pursuers grew stronger. Seeker drones skimmed across the fractured cliffs, scanning for her faint resonance. Kael gritted his teeth. Okay, plan B. I hope you like improvisation, because we're about to invent it. He hit a series of buttons at random, producing a flash of holographic decoys that projected multiple Lurei along the cliffs. The drones paused, analyzed the projections, then shifted erratically as the illusions shimmered, duplicated, and collapsed like collapsing stars in miniature. Lurei let out a faint laugh, surprising even herself. You make a poor strategist seem competent." Kael waved casually. "I have that effect on people. It's a gift. Hazardous, but highly entertaining." The drones eventually peeled off, distracted by the holograms. Kael exhaled, gripping the steering controls like a man holding onto the last donut in existence. "That's victory for now," he said. "Also teamwork. You do the glowing. I do the panicking heroics." They continued through gravity-scarred valleys, where metallic forests whispered encrypted messages through the wind. Lurei's energy shimmered softly, sensing hidden dangers, nudging him around traps and unstable patches. "Your navigation is erratic," she murmured. "Erratic is the new precision," he replied. "Trust me, it's trending in every corner of the galaxy." As night fell, they descended toward a river of molten crystal, its surface humming with residual energy from experiments long abandoned. Kael steered carefully, balancing exhilaration with sheer terror. "This is what I call scenic terror," he muttered. "1 part adventure, 2 parts, please don't die." Her fingers brushed against his arm again, and a pulse of warmth ran through the rover. "You care," she said softly. "Of course," he replied without hesitation. "Even if I don't know what I'm doing half the time, I'm very good at caring. Premium service, right here." They finally reached a plateau, the rover settling on solid ground. Kael exhaled, leaning back. "Rest here for a moment. Catch your breath. Maybe let me cry quietly into my helmet while I appreciate how terrifying the universe is." Lurei smiled faintly, ears lifting just enough to show amusement. "You are strange." "Thank you," Kael said proudly. "It's my best feature. Right after heroic stubbornness and terrible jokes." She closed her eyes, letting the warmth of his presence anchor her. He watched the horizon, violet streaks fading but never far away, a reminder that the hunt wasn't over. "Tomorrow," he said quietly, "we figure out how to fight them and survive, preferably without me causing another small interstellar incident." She gave the faintest nod, a silent agreement, and for the first time, Kael allowed himself to believe that maybe, just maybe, they could. The moment Kael and Lurei stepped onto the plateau, the hum of approaching drones filled the air like a prelude to chaos. Kael groaned dramatically, running a hand over his face. Why does danger always have such impeccable timing? Couldn't they just schedule an appointment? Lurei's ears twitched as she extended her hands, energy spiraling from her fingers in soft arcs of pale light. "We must end this now. They will not stop until I am gone." Kael squared his shoulders, cracking a grin despite the tension. "Well, lucky for you, I specialize in last-minute heroics and bad jokes. Let's do this." The drone swooped down, violet scanning pulses washing over the ground. Kael jumped, flailing his arms. "Attention, flying death machines. Over here. Definitely the wrong target, I assure you." Lurei's energy flared, shaping into a lattice of light that danced around her like protective armor. "Stay close," she said softly. Kael stumbled toward her, fumbling with the emergency pulse blaster he had cobbled together from scavenged parts. "I may be mildly terrifying, but mostly I'm harmless." Also loud, the first drone's scanning pulse collided with her shield, fizzing harmlessly against the energy lattice. Kael yelped in delight. "See, totally ineffective against her. I mean effective. Totally effective." Lurei's focus deepened. Light bent, shimmered, and wove through the air in rippling waves, making the drones hesitate, flicker, and misidentify their target. Kael darted between them, waving his arms, shooting pulse blasters at anything that blinked threateningly. "I call this the interpretive dance of survival. Very high art. You'll thank me later." One drone adapted too quickly. Its energy beam caught Kael's leg, and he yelped, rolling dramatically. "Right, okay. That's a minor injury. Totally under control. Ignore the sparks." Lurei's eyes glowed brighter. A cascade of energy unfurled, enveloping the drones. They spun, their sensors overloaded, and streaked skyward, retreating into the fractured horizon. Kael groaned, collapsing beside her. And that, my glowing friend, is how you win without reading the manual. Her breathing steadied. You fought beside me, even when it was dangerous. I panicked artistically, Kael admitted. But yes, I was beside you. And I plan to stay here. Permanently. Possibly as an unpaid bodyguard. She smiled faintly, the first time without a trace of fear. You are remarkable. Kael tilted his head. Remarkable is relative. Dangerous optimism, terrifyingly persistent heroics, and outstanding noodle cooking skills. You care, she said softly. I do, he said without hesitation. More than I realized I could. And you're not just surviving, you're thriving. You've changed me, Lurei. Her glow pulsed gently. I trusted humans again. Because of you. Kael shook his head, smiling softly. No, because of us. Not me alone. We make a pretty good team, even if I do scream too much. They moved back toward the rover. The horizon cleared. The drones gone. Lurei's energy hummed softly in sync with the vehicle's engines. Kael navigated carefully over floating cliffs, through gravity-scarred valleys, and across rivers of molten crystal. Next stop, figuring out what your people need and stopping anyone else from trying to erase it, he said. But after snacks. Very important. Lurei chuckled faintly, allowing him to help her settle into the rover. You are strange but good. And you're excellent at glowing dramatically, Kael replied. Perfect compliment. They reached the edge of the fractured world as dawn approached. Violet streaks faded to gold, and Kael finally allowed himself to relax. We made it. Not perfect, but alive. Mostly intact, with only minor existential panic. Lurei turned to him, eyes shining faintly. Together, we can face anything. Kael's hand brushed hers, warmth radiating in a silent promise. Together, he agreed. No matter what the universe throws at us. For the first time, he felt something beyond fear and survival. Responsibility, yes, but also hope. The adventure had changed him. He realized heroism wasn't just reckless action. It was patience, care, and standing beside someone when the universe insisted they shouldn't. Lurei's glow brightened as if in acknowledgement, intertwining with his warmth. Do not leave me again, she whispered. I never will. Kael replied firmly, a quiet certainty grounding them both. They rose above the fractured terrain in the rover, a strange alliance of human stubbornness and alien brilliance, ready to face whatever the stars held. The horizon stretched endlessly, full of possibility and danger, but for the first time, Kael felt prepared. They were no longer hunted. They were partners, resilient and unbroken. The universe could try to tear them apart again, but now Kael knew one thing. He would not let it. Not ever. And Lurei, for the first time since her crash, allowed herself to hope. The end.